Attorney General.
Would you listen to this? This is very important. Flag burning. All over the country, they're burning flags. All over the world, they burn the American flag. And as you know, through a very sad court, I guess it was a 5-4 decision, they called it freedom of speech. But there's another reason, which is perhaps much more important. It's called death. Because what happens when you burn a flag is the area goes crazy. If you have hundreds of people, they go crazy. You can do other things. You can burn this piece of paper. But when you burn the American flag, it incites riots at levels that we've never seen before. People go crazy. In a way, both ways. There are some that are going crazy for doing it. There are others that are angry about them doing it. Do you want to discuss that?
Sure. So what the executive order does, sir, it charges your Department of Justice with investigating instances of flag burning, and then where there's evidence of criminal activity, where prosecution wouldn't fall afoul of the First Amendment, and instructs the Department of Justice to prosecute those who are engaged in these instances of flag.
All right. So what I'm hearing here is that the executive order that Trump just signed a couple of days ago instructs the Department of Justice to investigate incidents of flag burning, and that if it falls outside of the definition of freedom of speech, then they can move forward into criminal investigation, where it's meant to signal or to trigger violent riots and anti-American sentiments and so on. Now, this is very clear. It's clearly put. But if you join me for my first stream of this week, I think it was the very first stream or the last stream of last week, I made a statement about how law and order escalates because bad people take advantage of the freedoms in our societies. I gave an example of security. In Nigeria, as a boy, I grew up at a time when we didn't have fences. We had open property that went over to the street, just like we have here in Canada in many cases. But before I turned 7, walls began to go up. And why did walls begin to go up? Because security, well, first of all, in the 70s, the government took away the ownership of private guns. So they literally went from house to house to seize people's guns. And because people didn't have the ability to defend themselves, the criminals felt freer to rob people in their homes while they slept. And by the early 80s, most people began to put up fences, because before then, you had your own firearms and you could defend yourself. Now you needed a fence to wall off your property. And as the years advanced, the fences got higher and more complicated, because when people go ahead and begin to perpetrate crime, the walls begin to go up. They begin to escalate the means of security that they try to put up for themselves. And so that's the same thing you see in conversations around the law and constitution. When the law steps in and begins to modify definitions because bad people are pushing the envelope, it's a problem on both sides. First of all, the bad people shouldn't be doing the bad things in the first place. But as you begin to modify the laws, like the executive order is doing, to say, look, we now need to investigate the cases of flag burning, what tends to happen is those powers begin to expand by themselves, because it doesn't necessarily change behavior. It just gives the executive branch or Congress the license to begin to rewrite these definitions to suit contemporary times. And that's why a lot of people who are concerned about this executive order are complaining. They are complaining because it's like, yes, we support what Trump is doing, but there is a caveat to it. Someone else could step in and use this as a precedent to take away other freedoms. So that's why these are very difficult conversations to have. But it's always good to say, okay, what is the intent? Here's the intent. People have been burning the American flag for decades, but there's been a pattern. where violence follows. So what do? We do this. The challenge is, in a couple of years, someone else escalates it, and it keeps escalating to the point where a certain freedom is at risk. So let's finish up this, and then I'll respond to the chat.
And what the penalty is going to be, if you burn a flag, you get 1 year in jail, no early exits.
Happening right now, you're watching CBS News 24/7 continuing coverage of President Donald Trump signing executive orders.
All right, so I'm going to stop here. I noticed that certain news outlets complain when some of my live streams do very well. All right, the live streams that have few views, they don't complain. But once the live stream starts getting a lot of viewership, they complain to YouTube to say, well, they used my footage here and I don't like the fact that they took too long. And there's this thing called fair use. So I try to stay within fair use, and it's hard to do, especially in stories like this. Now, I still stand by my position that yes, there's some sense to what he's saying, but it meets a precedent. Okay, good. So let's look at the comment section, then I'll begin to respond to the live chat. Okay, I can see the conversation on the live chat. I am coming over to the live chat to discuss that before I rush off to pick up my son. All right, this is maddening. We are watching the end of America. Yeah, so we have someone who thinks that this is the end of America for an executive order. It's hard to have these conversations. There are lots of gray areas. And I feel like the danger is that there are so many gray areas. All right. The danger is in the gray. And for me, I feel that lots and lots of conversations have to be had about this, so that when the extremes begin to show up, we're prepared to kind of contain them. I'm concerned. Okay. I will get to the chat. I see some great conversations popping off, so I will get to the chat. It astonishes me how you actually want crimes and to get out with no bail. Illinois is just like this. Okay, this is talking about the executive order that Trump signed earlier about removing the cashless bail system. I watched the footage, and Pam Bondi talked about a criminal who robbed a woman, got arrested, got out on cashless bail, and went back the following night to rob the same woman he had just robbed and was sent to jail for. And why does that happen? It happens because when you reward bad behavior, you encourage it. All right. Let's see. Slavak is saying that they should search every home on the south side for illegal guns. So he's saying that the south side of DC is notorious for criminals who own illegal guns. Trump could sell you a bridge without a deck and a car without wheels to drive across. That's a Trumpster. Look, this is someone with TDS. Let's talk about the facts, okay? If you don't like him, if you like him, let's talk about the facts and the policy. I've said again and again on my streams and on my videos, I like his policies. I like his position on his country. As an individual, I wouldn't say to my son, learn from him and make the same personal choices he makes. All right. So I have my differences with his personal choices, but as a president in office and the policies he makes, I mean, I like them. And I say again and again, if many third world countries had leaders who put their people first, you wouldn't have such a surge in immigration. I'm saying it unapologetically. If you wanted to leave your country, it would be because you just felt like doing it, like many people in North America do. They go to places like Peru to hang out because they want to, not because they're escaping their countries.